Hi, I'm P. Renada. Welcome to Rappler Talk. Today we're with Dr. Mahar Mangahas of the Social Weather Stations, and we're here to ask him about what so far has been the President's trust and satisfaction ratings so far as we near the end of his second year in power. So thank you so much, Dr. Mangahas, for joining us. So we just like to ask, June 30 will be the day when we would have experienced 2 full years of the Duterte presidency. And we just wanted to ask, so far in SWS's survey results, what can we say about the President's performance so far, or how people perceive him so far?
First of all, this so far is up to last March. We don't know what is the situation from April or May or June. We're going to have something for June, and we will report it in July, right? That's what happens when you have a quarterly series. I wish it could be monthly, but I can't do that. So in the first place, it's wrong to say that the President's ratings have been high up to now. Unless by up to now you mean last March. Huh? But what if we discover a big fall in June? Then we'll have to say that it must have fallen between March and June sometime, all right? And do that accordingly. So the constant repetition of the high rating is just a repetition of everything up to March, and there nothing new came out in April, May, or June, all right, so far. Right? So for that you have to wait. But that's very, very important to mention, okay? Because things go out, they're controversial. And you can always easily guess that many of them have probably negative outcomes. Right? But I don't want to say how negative, because it's our work to measure it when we do the measurement. And we're about to do that. And we don't want to, we don't want to say we know what it will be. We don't know what it will be. Once we say we know what it will be, then people will start saying, oh, you fixed it so that it will be what you say it will be. So we stay clear of that. We do not project, all right, what it will be.
So right now we'll just focus on the March, as of March.
Up to March.
The ratings before
up
then.
Up to March.
And
then
the line that it's
by
made.
next month, you will have June, all right, because it's quarterly, all right, and then we will see. Okay, we don't know. Right?
Okay, as a background, Dr. Mangahas, so your surveys measure trust and satisfaction. Can you just explain what's the difference between the two?
They're two different words. And to different words, people can have different reactions. No? So, being satisfied is being nasisiyahan. Nasisiyahan sa pagganap ng tungkulin ng isang tao na may opisyal na tungkulin. Okay. And satisfaction is it's more than a minimal grade. In UP, you can pass even if your professor is not satisfied with you. If you pass barely, you get a grade of 3. If you get a satisfactory grade, you should get 2.5 at least, or better. So getting a satisfactory grade is superior to getting a passing grade. Understand? Mm-hmm. Right. We use the term satisfaction because we always did. From the beginning, from 1985. And I guess we just did that because satisfaction has been the term used in a lot of consumer research. Satisfied with the product. You're not just saying pasado yan. No? Nasisiyahan ako doon. Right? And we can't change the word ever again because it will upset the series. In particular, we cannot say approve because we never did. The Americans started with approve, and they cannot change anymore, or else it will upset their series. But approve is more like pass. Approve is a weak rating. Satisfied is actually a higher rating than approve. If you're approved, you will pass. If you get a satisfactory grade, that's better than approved, right? So, Satisfactory rating is the question of kung nasisiyahan ang tao.
So, is there a link though? Do
A
you
what?
see a link sometimes between trust and satisfaction?
Yes, trust is kung may tiwala kayo sa kanya. That's why we are very careful. We put the Filipino there because some people might not be very clear about the translation, no, of what is trust and what is satisfaction, right? And words are very important. That's why I clarified that satisfied doesn't mean approve. It's always satisfied, and there's no synonym for it. All right? You cannot say this or that. No, no. This, only this. And next time you do it, it'll always be that. Now, we have always used trust, satisfaction, because government officials have a duty, right? They have a duty to do something. It's their tungkulin, it's their function, right? So people have a right to, get satisfactory performance. Okay. Now, being trustworthy is something quite else again. You can say, I don't trust him. I don't trust what he says. I don't believe it when he says like this. Maybe he doesn't really mean it, but that's different from being satisfied that he will do what he's supposed to do.
Okay.
All right.
As of March, what do we see in his trust and satisfaction?
The trust things we don't even do every time. We, maybe do it twice a year or something like that. Not necessarily all the time. To us, it is not that important. We use trust for just as a general, a general term for whether you feel favorable towards somebody or not. We use trust, for example, for foreign leaders. We use trust for Trump. Do you trust Trump? But there's no sense in being satisfied with Trump because Trump has no duty to you. His duty is to the American people. All right? So that's why we have these terms like trust. Even for example, for the Pope, for religious officials of any faith, we would ask, do you trust these people?
In other words, you can trust someone but not be satisfied, and you can be satisfied with
yes,
it.
but there are people, with whom you could have both relationships, no? But there are some for which satisfaction does not apply because they have no duty to do anything for you. So it is useless to say you're satisfied with him. It doesn't make sense for a Filipino to be satisfied with Trump because Trump doesn't owe him anything.
So going to President Duterte, so far from the time you began your surveys on his presidency till March, what have we seen in terms of his trust and satisfaction?
Well, they're both good. All right. I don't remember the numbers. The numbers are in our data. All right. They're both good or sometimes very good, and we have precise limits to when we use the terms good or very good. Good for us is a margin of at least 30 points between the favorable and the unfavorable. Right. If it's less than 30, but more than, let's say, 29 down to 10, then we say that's favorable, but that's only moderate. Right? Now, in particular, I have defined, because anybody can define what they want, I have defined the honeymoon as being better than moderate, being good and up.
Good and up.
Yes, good and up, because we have very good, we have excellent pa. So there are higher grades than that. Right? Now, in a column on last year, October 14, in particular, I counted the length of the honeymoons of all the presidents. And here are their lengths. Cory, 3.5 years. That's more than half of her term. Right? Fidel Ramos, 2.5 years. Joseph Estrada, 1 year, but then that was,
That was it.
by his second year, he was already out, no? So 1 year, 4 quarters. He lasted actually for 8 quarters, right? 4 quarters. Gloria, none, because she never even got to good. Well, she got to good one time in her entire 9 years, and it was somewhere there in the middle. The longest honeymoon is the honeymoon of Noynoy Aquino. 3 years and 3 quarters. All right? Duterte is still quite far from that. Let us wait. But he has not even matched Fidel Ramos. He has overcome Arroyo and ERAP. If he stays with good grades up to the end of this year, which we will know by next year, then he will have matched Fidel Ramos. All right? But then he would still have to match Cory Aquino.
3 years.
And to match Cory Aquino, he should have to go up to the second half of 2019. All right? So malayo pa. Malayo pa. So any talk about, wow, he's got such a great honeymoon, is an exaggeration. Right? We Filipino people are generous, and we've been generous not only to him, but to others also.
Some people have been pointing out that the president seems to be enjoying very good ratings, despite so many controversies in his presidency, like despite maybe his unpresidential behavior. Do you think he's immune to these controversies, or it's too early to tell right now?
I wouldn't be able to answer that unless I had items specific to those things, and that requires study. We haven't had the time to do that. But it could be done. I mean, we could examine it and see, oh, how do you feel about this thing, and then how do you feel about him? But we don't have the time to do that kind of stuff. We don't have a department that does that kind of a thing. Right? But one thing I will comment on, though, and this is my own judgment already, is that the Marawi event in particular is something that has helped him, not has harmed him. Because this is common anywhere abroad, that in the event of conflict, armed conflict, the people tend to rally around the leader. This happened specifically to Thatcher, Margaret Thatcher, the most unpopular prime minister Britain ever had. But she rebounded because of the Falklands War, or what the Argentines call the Malvinas, the War of the Islas Malvinas. Okay? She recovered her popularity among the British, called for a new election, and won. And within about 6 months, she was unpopular again. So you could even say she could even have, been so happy that happened, because that shored up her popularity and allowed her to win a second term. That's the whole theme of the Wag the Dog film. Promote some kind of a conflict, then you have to get into that conflict, and then that gets the public back on your side. So with that, you see, the crisis in Marawi helped the popularity of the president, because he had to do something about it. Not because he was great in doing something about it, but because he had to attend to it. And was busy, busy. He was not just letting it go.
He was going to Marawi every now and then.
Every president would have to do that. Right? But that, being on people's minds all the time, in itself, would rally the public around him.
And it's something we saw in your results. The observation seems to mirror that, because in September he dipped.
Then in December,
that's what
in fact, I think I wrote about that. By December, when Marawi was at last, he was recovered, then he recovered also. He recovered a lot also. So.
But then after a while, he dipped again come March. But
it's still honeymoon. All right. So we will not. Those terms that we had are 20-point bands. Those good, very good, excellent, moderate. Those are 20-point bands. That's not just 10. So 10 might not change things, unless you're pretty low on one side, and at 10 you slip already to the other side. So 10 is just 10. 20 is what matters. If you want to think of something that's significant, right?
When you talk of honeymoon period, what exactly affects this? Is it just the president, or are there other factors that affect whether or not he can keep that honeymoon period going?
I'd let historians analyze that. I'd let them look at the inflation rates, for example. I'd let them study the report cards. We do report cards. You have seen them, right? That's where we ask for satisfaction, not about the person, but about the administration as a whole on a subject matter. All right? That's what they have. They have grades per subject matter. Now, historically, the worst subject, let's put it that way, the worst subject has been controlling inflation. All right. So that's the prime thing to look at. Anytime there's a spike in the inflationary rate, that's people feel it immediately, and that's what I would look for correlation-wise. Actually, Mr. Duterte is very lucky that the economy had a very stable price levels in 2014 and 2015 as he was coming in, right? And now he's trying to hold the line, but of course it's not as good as it was over there. We will see, right? We will see. But as I said, the worst subject historically is inflation. Even in Duterte's time, also it's inflation, right? The second worst subject is fighting corruption. That bounces also up and down. So you look at that and see where are the high grades and where are the low grades. They are not always the same.
Mm-hmm. Do you think inflation might have had a part to play in the way his ratings from December to March went down because train was implemented in January or in between those times? Does it have any connection maybe?
Too early for train to have an effect. Train would be having its real effect only now, probably by the end of the year. But train had its propaganda effect already 6 months ago. So you have everybody saying it's train, blaming it already. Okay, helping people anticipate things are going to happen, right? What you should do is to actually look for a correlation of the actual inflation and the actual views of the people, or even the grade with respect to inflation. The grade already went down a little bit, with respect to inflation.
How did Pinoy fare in terms of inflation? People's satisfaction with him vis-a-vis inflation rates?
No, that's just have to look at that. Look for where it is. He did better than that. Here, okay. This is the report card. This is the overall. All right. By the way, look at this. This is typical. A great improvement here in Noynoy's time from the past 4. All right. Ito, continuation na lang ito.
That's Duterte.
Yes, this is Duterte. You see, Duterte is making so much about being better than Noynoy. But actually, Noynoy is the one who did a big jump from being better than Arroyo, Estrada, Ramos, and Cory. Okay? It's a matter of perspective. Of course, being better than over this is wala nang honeymoon dito, so that's not hard to do. This is the report card. Helping disaster victims, helping the poor, rebuilding Marawi, public works, OFW, fighting terrorism, human rights, even human rights. This should have been also the same color red, but that's in the 50s. No, yeah, that's very good. That's plus 50 or more. Ito, plus 30 or more lang. Good, right? Okay. Here's the lowest grade, fighting inflation, plus 6. But that would be very good for others, no? Because being merely neutral, right?
So others had
Fighting
even
hunger.
lower grades than that for inflation.
Well, that's then you see, we will look for that in the long. Then you look at these charts and you can see all of the past. You look at this, or this is your first time to see this?
I think I've seen it, but a long time ago.
You forgot. Okay. Helping the poor. Okay. Of course, we have some blanks because we didn't use it. Marawi. Roads and bridges. For a long time, we didn't do anything. That's why blanco. What can we do? OFWs. Okay. Here. Fighting terrorism. All right. This is moderate neutral. Not bad there. And then doing here, this is fine. Huh? Okay. Protecting human rights. See, this is the good range. This yellow, this is the good range. Very good din siya. Okay, now look. This as I said, this is the second worst grade. Fighting graft and corruption. Almost always negative. Only positive in the honeymoon, at the very early time. Cory, Ramos, Erap, Arroyo. Huh? Momentary satisfaction. And then lubog, submerged. Huh? This is the negative range already here. Now look at Noynoy. Did not get here until the very end. All right? He's doing okay there. All right? Here he could say he's doing better. Transportation. Telling the truth. Okay too. Huh? But this really started in Noynoy's time. Reconciling with Muslim rebels. See? This is okay, except here at the very end. May mamasapa na ito eh. All right? And then I'll have up again there. Fighting crime. Okay? All right. Reconciling with communist rebels. All right. So far. Foreign relations. This is the one who was hanged in Singapore. When that maid was hanged in Singapore. Floor contemplation. Ito ang floor contemplation case. 1995. Territorial rights. Hunger. Improved here, down again, up again, there. See. Okay, inflation, right. Inflation. Never positive until Noynoy's time. Right? Always the worst subject. Right? Stayed pretty good. Well, except here. But here, okay, as I said, there was no more inflation here. Now, it's kind of petering out. May it go up again? I don't know.
What makes inflation the worst subject? Why is it the worst subject?
It is. What makes it the worst is it impacts right away. You don't have to wait. Families are buying things every week, every day. So, kita nila agad. All right? So this is the most impactful variable. Right? Use this. Use the report card.
And from those graphs, is there any conclusion to be made that can be made now about the presidency of Duterte?
Well, no. You just know where it was last March, here. Started fine, has lost a lot. Where will it go now? Let us see. Let us see. But at this point, it's, certainly it's no better than the average of Noynoy. You look at the whole thing there. At this point, it's still better than all of this. I'll call it the same as this. Right? Diba? Huh?
So far it's following the pattern of Pinoy's.
The accomplishment is about the same as the average of Pinoy, which was, a good show compared to all the 4 presidents before him.
So it's still an act that Duterte is yet to follow at this point.
Yeah. Well, he has to see whether he can have a 3 3/4 year honeymoon. He doesn't have that yet. Right? He has a 7-quarter honeymoon so far. So a honeymoon is not rare. All right? Huh? He still has 2 other presidents to match. And if they don't mention it, then they're exaggerating.
Right now we're ending the 2nd year and we're going on to the 3rd. Are there any kinds of expectations people usually have about their president at this point in time? A 3rd into the term?
That is an interesting question, but we do not ask people what they expect. We ask people what they expect for themselves, and we ask people what they expect for the economy, whether they expect it to be good or bad, and those expectations are actually very good right now, which is rare. So this is fortunate. This is very fortunate.
Is there a point, sir, when people start to expect promises to be fulfilled at a certain point?
Probably there would be. But we have asked about fulfilling promises only twice. These are the last few reports which we're doing now, cleaning up the material of the 2nd quarter, of the 1st quarter. The feeling about the economy, that this is fortunate. This is swertihan. Okay, here. Posted on May 23. All right. Here's the optimists and pessimists. Right? And here's where it really opened up. It really opened up starting with Noynoy. Not Duterte, but here. It opened up as people said, malapit na matapos yung kay Arroyo. Right. But that's personal optimism. What will happen to you, yourself? We have a different question, which is what will happen to the economy, not necessarily about yourself. And I'll want to show you the chart for that. Here, look at this. Look at this. Will the economy improve or deteriorate? Look at the red over the green, Estrada, Arroyo. It's all pessimistic. It only turned optimistic here, starting with Aquino. And now, of course, it's even more optimistic, right? Now, this is about the whole economy. See, it started growing actually here, at this point. And it has been maintained. So this is fortunate.
So at the very least, sir, we can say that the president right now was able to keep the momentum begun by
Well, I don't
Pinoy
know if this is, well,
so far?
this is a matter of history. So even this, you don't know if this was done by Aquino, but it happened. The economic optimism happened only in the time of Noynoy Aquino. See? See, it's only here. It's only here where the green overshoots the red. Starting at this point. Here it's even larger. But all over here, it's all pessimism. Now, this is a typical feeling about the economy all over the world, that the economy is getting worse, not better. This has been the case for decades. So it's not surprising that it was here also.
Is there any relation, sir, with optimism with the economy to the satisfaction or trust ratings of the president?
We don't do that kind of a correlation, so I wouldn't know. Huh? In fact, why don't people do it? They have all the numbers. Why don't you do it? The numbers are there. All right? It's a question that's answerable. Okay? But I wouldn't credit the president. They're just happening at the same time. See? I wouldn't say, oh, look at this. These are pessimistic times. This is due to Estrada, or this is due to Arroyo. That's giving them too much credit for the entire economy. Right? But it just so happens that there was a remarkable turnaround here, starting 2010. And it has been maintained after 2016. Okay? So, you're seeing these things happening contemporaneously, and that's what you can say. You cannot say this is because this administration did this or did that. I wouldn't do that, no? Unless you study and say, talk about what it did in particular. Huh? Here we are seeing a very, very, very major change in tax reform. That's important because government needs money. Can't promise without having funds to deliver them, to deliver the promises with, really. No? So it is very important that the tax reform delivers money. If it doesn't deliver anything, then how can it succeed? And we have an underfunded government compared to other governments. Underfunded. Successful governments need a lot of money. And we have a highly complaining people who want a lot but aren't willing to pay for it. Right?
So, sir, I guess just your final words on what you think is the challenge now posed by this point in time when people have expectations, lots of issues are coming up, and we've seen the trust and approval ratings at a steady pace so far. What do you think would be the challenge now for the president?
You know, the West Philippine Sea, the failure to claim our resources in the West Philippine Sea, eventually, that's going to boomerang, I suppose. Don't know how long it will take, but the policy of giving way to the big bully cannot be working. That's major. That's major. And the president has not brought the people around to start trusting China.
Yes, as a survey also showed.
We know that. They still trust the United States, not China, not Russia. So, How is he going to convince the public that the Chinese are trustworthy?
Have we seen this affect his rating so far, or so far he's been able to keep things at bay?
If I wanted to examine that, then I would start correlating the ones who don't trust China and the ones who don't trust the president. See, that's the way to go about it. All right? And I could do that. And I would probably say, look, there's a connection. There should be a connection. All right? But the connection is not so much as to dump the president, into the negative territory. So it should be a factor. But how long will it take to build up? I don't know.
And it will depend also on the external factors if there are more incursions that we will see in the West Philippine Sea.
We are going to be asking about that. We're going to ask, what do you think about the military bases in the West Philippine Sea? That can't be positive. That can't be people feeling, oh, how nice, now we are safe. But I don't have data about that yet, but we will see. So those are the things. You have to look at the whole scheme. The foreign policy is definitely not supported. That policy, this China policy, right? It's more than just OFWs.
Thank you so much for joining us. We've just spoken with Dr. Mahar Mangahas about the president's wrapping up his second year in power. Thank you for watching.